for us. And Olivia, first of all, this U-turn on Cop27, did it become inevitable?
I think it probably did, and I think it's the first real chink that we've seen in Rishi Sunak's armour, as it were. For the last couple of weeks, we've all been talking about party unity. Rishi Sunak, in the end, managed to get an enormous number of MPs behind him in that leadership contest from both the left and the right of the party. And it looked, to all intents and purposes, as though the Conservative Party, when faced with the prospect of electoral oblivion, had finally focused their minds and united behind their leader. But very, very soon, that started to fracture. We saw Alok Sharma, who's recently been dismissed from the cabinet as the Cop26 president, speak out very boldly against Rishi Sunak, saying that it was undermining Britain's position as a world leader on green affairs for Rishi Sunak not to attend Cop27. Then you have Boris Johnson, who claimed he was going to be helpful to the new Prime Minister, saying that he was going to go to Cop27, which seemed to show up Rishi Sunak. So the new Prime Minister, who made what many people felt was a very justifiable decision to skip Cop27, another of these big international jamborees, which even Greta Thunberg, for example, isn't going to because she feels it's commercialised. He chose to focus on domestic issues instead. He's now had to make that huge U-turn, which I think shows that that party unity may have been miles wide, but it could be inches deep.
I have to say, if Greta Thunberg isn't going, that seems like an incredibly good reason to go. I think it's a very attractive thing for politicians to think wherever Greta Thunberg isn't is where they should be. But I suppose the idea that this is just a couple of days at another international summit. Of course, the Prime Minister is going off to the Maldives in not too long for G20. He goes to G7 summits, NATO summits. He was at, or the former Prime Minister was at the UN as well very recently. Why did it become such a big row to just go to another summit for a couple of days? It doesn't seem like it should be the biggest totemic issue in Westminster.
No, perhaps not. But I think in deciding not to go, Rishi Sunak sort of set the precedent that he was more concerned. It could have been an appeal to those MPs on the right of the party. He wanted to show that he was more concerned about domestic issues, that cost of living crisis that's hitting people this winter, than, hobnobbing with international leaders at this big event. I think part of the problem is perhaps that Rishi Sunak has this reputation of being a sort of very rich, sort of international Prime Minister who, there was all that green card furore with him. So I think he wants to show that he is here, he's in Britain, he is focused on the task at hand. And in doing so, he managed to alienate those who think that the best way for Britain to show its credentials as serious about green leadership is for the Prime Minister to be at Cop27, which is how it turned into such a big drama in Westminster, and why Rishi Sunak so soon into his premiership has been forced to take what is really quite an embarrassing U-turn.